Hello and welcome to the Owatonna Today Show. I'm Shelley Whitehead. It's such a beautiful day outside. This is why we live in Minnesota for this weather, right? Thank you so much for joining us, where you can see us on Charter Channel 181 6 days a week. But if for some reason you're out and enjoying this weather, you can always find us on YouTube as well as thethirdhandvideo.com. That's Leanne's website. You can go there and check it out. And on Facebook, it's a great way just to keep up to date with what's going on, because Leanne does upload the most recent episode right to your Facebook page. So it's so easy to keep up with what's going on in Owatonna. And today's a great show for that, because we've got two of our representatives here talking to us about what's going on in Minnesota. So make sure you stick around, find out what's going on legislatively in our state, because that's always an interesting topic. We'll be right back. But we want to remind you that we're always looking for more information. If you've got something going on in your life or your community and want to share it with the world of Owatonna, you can always send us an email at owatonnatoday@charter.net. You can also give Leanne Alt a call at 390-5751, and she'll give you all the details you need to know about how to get you on the air. So stick with us. We'll be right back. All right.
I'm Dan Branstead of Carlson Branstead and Company, Certified Public Accountants. We support the Owatonna Today Show.
Owatonna Public Utilities, real people, real reliable, real progress. Making life a little easier day after day, taking pride in our community, listening to what you say, a voice you can talk to. We're growing with you in mind in everything we do. Owatonna Public Utilities.
Greetings, I'm Laura Ressler, Director of the Steele County Historical Society, and I welcome you to our History Center. We invite you to join in all our activities events where we honor the past and look towards the future.
And we're back in studio. I have John Petersburg, who's going to talk to us about state life.
Oh, yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Does that sound good? Well,
Yes.
do me a quick favor. I'd like you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what you do here in Owatonna, and then kind of your life up in the state capitol.
Thank you very much. Yes, during my regular life, I am the church administrator at Trinity Lutheran Church here in town, and so I've been spending the last couple of weeks rushing around trying to finish up the year end and get ready so that I could go up to the Capitol. And I live in Waseca, and I represent Owatonna and Waseca, and I really appreciate the support that I've been given during this time to representing the people here. Getting up to the Capitol, I've been spending some time. I have a small apartment up there. Actually, it's an efficiency apartment that we've got set up again. And I've been in my office because of the changeover from minority to majority. We're on different floors. So I was on the second floor before, moved up to the fifth floor. My office is now. And so that means you got to pull everything off the walls and move everything. At least the staff up there will move the material, the furniture and that sort of stuff. So all you have to do is just kind of organize it and put it together.
So it'll look the same in a different room, because you'll have all your same things.
All right.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that kind of an interesting, I guess, most of us when we work a job, we plan on being there for a while. And it seems like sometimes when you work in politics, it seems more temporary. Does that feel that way to you, or is there a sense of permanency as well for you?
Well, I think it is more of a temporary piece, generally because we're only in session for about 5 months a year. And the second year of the session, usually a little less than that because it's not the budgeting year. And so it is really a part-time legislature, and whenever you're involved in a part-time position, it tends to be more temporary, rather than permanent. And so it certainly is that way.
So these moves you kind of expect them because you never know what's going to happen from election to election and that kind of thing.
Exactly. There's no guarantees that you get reelected again either. And so you put your best foot forward, and you hope that the public that is voting for you find you the best candidate for their vote. And beyond that, it's all part of our own civic duty to at least put our foot forward and do the best we can.
Weird question, and because I'm just curious about the way things work. Why do they move between majority and minority? Why do they move them to different floors?
Part of it is because structurally there's a difference between the party that's in majority. They have more committees that they're on. Usually, they're more involved with it, and so therefore they have more staff. And so there's when you're at least in the House, when you're in the minority, you have basically one legislative assistant for three legislators. In the majority, there tends to be one for every two. Because the committee chairs are also part of the majority, they will also have a special legislative assistant just for the committee itself. And so that kind of requires more staffing. And so the configuration of the floors allow for differences in that staffing ratio to offices. And then, of course, the Speaker's office, which is much larger, is on the fourth floor. And so that changes. And so usually you want your caucus to be kind of together on the same floors rather than mixed and matched.
Trying to run all over everywhere.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, consolidate things. So tell me, we have a brand new year looking at us, 2015. Tell us some of the things that you have looking forward to.
Well, one of the things that I was very excited about was I was named vice chair of the Transportation Committee this year, and so Representative Tim Kelly is the chair. And he and I have had some discussions in regards to transportation, and so that's always a hot topic for me. I want to keep transportation on the front of our burners, shall we say, and find some more funding so that we can at least finish the engineering and right-of-way purchase of Highway 14 here. But it's bigger than that, though. The statewide, we have a real issue with the number of finances for our roads and bridges specifically. We seem to always find lots of money for light rail and zip lines and some of the other stuff. But roads and bridges, which are really the backbone of the economy here in Minnesota, we haven't found enough money for that yet in order to really deal with the unmet needs. So we will be looking at some options there and trying to figure out ways in which we can fund that.
Which makes sense, because while you do have it's good to kind of look into other options, but we still have the aging infrastructure that's there that people are still riding on, and we want them to be safe. Correct.
And here in this part of the state, it is really the roads and bridges are really a fundamental artery for our economy. All the material that we make in our industry and manufacturing here goes by road most of the time. There are a few things go by rail, but most of it goes by trucks and roads, and so we need to make sure that we have that available, as well as safety for the smaller vehicles out there, cars that you and I drive, compared to those big trucks, because when there's a competitive piece, trucks always win, so we need to do that.
Yeah. So when you look forward, is there any specific ideas that you have that you'd like to bring forward to help fund that, or is it just a working together brainstorming kind of thing?
I think there's some brainstorming there. One of the things we really got to be careful of is eliminating something right away. So we want to be very careful that we keep all of our tools on the table, shall we say. And so there are certainly efficiencies that can be created. There could be some differences in priorities and how we prioritize projects that can help. There are some funding streams that we need to continue to explore. And there are other revenues that maybe we can tap into. So we're going to try a lot of those various things.
That's not your only committee, though.
No, I've been assigned two other committees, and they're both new for me, so this will be kind of interesting. I'm on the State Government Finance Committee as one, and that's a fairly large, heavy-handed committee, and I'm also on the Taxes Committee, which pretty much sets the budget for the biennium and will have a big impact in the dollars that are assigned to each of the areas of government finance. And so that'll be very interesting to learn more about that.
Yeah, and that's that's kind of what the legislature is all about for you, I think, as an individual, is this learning process, isn't it?
Well, it's a big learning curve, and even though I've been there for 2 years already, going from minority to majority is a big learning curve too, because when you're in the minority, your bills don't carry quite as much weight, and they don't get heard as often. It's a little bit more of a struggle because the majority party is the ruling party, and they get to kind of pick and choose the direction that the legislature goes. So this will be quite a lot different. I have to admit, though, that I think being in the minority allowed me to really watch the system and watch the process better than any other way. And so it's allowed me to learn more about the individuals, both in my party and the other party, to see what are their hot topics and what are their areas. And I think that will allow me to be a better legislator.
Is that because you were on fewer committees, or what gave you that time to do that, the opportunity?
Well, because there are few of the bills that I got placed actually got heard, so that meant that I could just watch and learn. There was no pressure on me to actually get it done. Even though I did the best that I could, there is a certain reality up in the legislature that the party in power does make the rules. And so it allowed you to sit back and you debate, but unless it had been approved prior to going on the floor, for example, really nothing gets changed on the floor. It changes in committee and it changes during negotiations prior to coming to the floor. So it's just kind of a learning curve, and now it'll be a little bit different again. So I appreciate it very much.
As you look into this next 2 years, what kind of feedback you've been getting from the community? What kind of concerns do they have as they move forward into 2015?
There are probably two big hot topics that we have right now. One is taxes, specifically real estate taxes have not gone down as much as we would hope, and matter of fact, agricultural taxes continue to go up primarily through increased valuations of farms. And so that's something I'm sure that will be looked at. Chair Draskowski is on chair of that committee. I know he's interested in looking at that. The other one, of course, is there are still some bugs need to be worked out with MNsure and the whole health care and insurance programs that we have. So those are there. Locally, of course, Highway 14 is always asked of me, when are you going to get that done? When are you going to get that done?
Well, it's only been going for 50 years, you know. Minor detail.
Plus, actually. Plus a little bit. So.
Yeah.
We have all of our representatives in this area, Senator Jensen and now Representative Daniels and others are very interested in getting that job done. So we'll be able to work it out and get some work done, I think. So.
As people watch the political season and if they have questions, how can they contact you? Because things are changing. Will your information stay the same?
Yes.
Okay.
My information stays the same. Website stays the same. It's just the room number of my office. Otherwise, communication-wise, everything else all comes to the same spot, same location.
Would you encourage some of your constituents to come up to the Capitol and visit you there?
Well, absolutely. They really need to. If they haven't had a chance to come up, please do. And sit in a committee meeting. Even in a session, there is balconies up there that people can view what happens on the floor, just so they get a feel for what happens, and then may help them understand what they can do to help us as legislators as well, keeping us informed, letting us know what's going on.
Good. Well, thank you for your time on this
Thank
very
you.
cold day. We really appreciate it. We'll be right back after these messages. Stay with us.
Carbon monoxide is a colorless, odorless gas produced by gas-fired appliances in your home. The state of Minnesota requires that you have a carbon monoxide alarm within 10 feet of sleeping areas in your home. We suggest you have a digital readout carbon monoxide alarm. That way we were able to check and see what the concentration amount was when the alarm went off. This has been a public safety tip from the Owatonna Fire Department.
Hi, I'm Glenn Mager.
And I'm Tim Thomas of the Brick Mager Funeral Home, and we're proud to serve the Medford and Owatonna areas with cremation and traditional funeral services.
And we're proud to be a part of the Owatonna Today Show.
Hi, this is Barry Gillespie, president of ERA Gillespie Real Estate, where our pledge is to save you money, save you time, and simplify your life. And we're proud supporters of the Owatonna Today Show.
Hello, I'm David Einhaus with the Owatonna Foundation. Thank you to all of our donors who have helped make Owatonna a better place to live. Will you join us today with a financial gift? Owatonna Foundation is a proud sponsor of the Owatonna Today Show.
And we're back in studio with us is Vicki Jensen, our state senator. Hey.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
How was your
Good.
holiday?
You know, it was really good. It was really good.
So, but you're ready to get started again?
Well, I'm ready, and I'm one that likes a challenge and likes to jump in, and so.
Tell me let's tell a little bit about yourself. What do you do in real life? And then you can talk us a little bit about what's going up in the state capitol.
Sure. My husband and I live in Owatonna, and we have an insurance agency. It's an independent insurance agency here in Owatonna. And I spend my time working in the office there. And I have Benjamin at home. I have 3 kids, but Benjamin is the one that's at home, and he's in 5th grade. And so we spend a lot of time doing the things that 5th graders do, and practicing baritone and math facts and all of those things.
How's it been for him to experience the legislative world on a much more intimate level, having Mom be up there?
Yeah, and I do stay during session, but they set it up so that we don't have a lot of committee meetings on Friday, so I'm able to come home a lot of the session on Thursday night and then go back up on Monday morning for session. So that was a complete adjustment for both my husband and for him, but I really do feel that it has given them the opportunity to develop a relationship that they wouldn't have had in that way if I would not be doing this, what I'm doing. Plus, I am, I think, a better parent because I'm doing something I absolutely love to do.
It's a good way to model that behavior for him.
Absolutely.
Do you find him talking with maybe some of his classmates about political issues where you might not answer?
Well, it was interesting. At one point, I think he was the chair, David Thule. His daughter is in Benjamin's 1st grade class. They were in the class together, and so they had a few conversations.
That's got to be so adorable.
I know.
This 5th graders.
I was a little horrified. Oh my gosh.
Look what happens. It leaks out.
But it is good for them to hear and understand that there needs to be involvement in these kinds of issues.
Well, and I think it'll just make him very aware, no matter where his path is, he'll always be aware of what's going on in there because he's had an intimate contact with that. So what kind of changes do we see for you in the 2015, your second?
Well, we didn't run this year, so that wasn't a change, and our committees did not change a lot. We did do a few changes. I kept the same committees. Other than we did add a insurance reform committee that I am chair of. It's a subcommittee of the Commerce Committee, so I'll be doing a lot of work on that this coming session.
Why was that committee formed? What were they looking to
Well, I was the chair of a working group that took a look at insurance fraud last session, and we developed some legislation, but it was very obvious very early that there was a lot of work that needed to be done in so many areas that it was not something we were going to be able to do in one interim session. We would have to broaden it out and actually start a committee where we could have the power to convene, and that I think is one of the biggest powers that legislators have.
What does that mean, power to convene?
That you can request people to come and talk to you, and of course it's their objective whether to come or not, but we can convene them at the same time and have a conversation on all sides of an issue, and it's an important thing that legislators, that is one of the things that they have the power to do.
And what kind of, so this has nothing to do with MNsure, this is actually just a whole other legal side of this process of insurance fraud you were mentioning.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes, this has to do with property insurance and a lot to do with no-fault insurance and the fraud that has been associated with that, because other states, not a lot of states have a no-fault insurance policy, and so the fraud comes in when other states tighten theirs up, because it's easy to get the money, and we want it that way because we want, if you get in a car accident and you need emergency care, we want you to have access to funding right away, so you don't have to be worried about that when you're sitting in the hospital.
Worried about your injuries.
Yes, and so it was set up for those emergency services. But it also gets into soft tissue issues, so we're bringing in chiropractic, and so it's very involved, and we want to make sure we have that available to people, but we also want to make sure we have it strong enough so that we are not encouraging fraud.
Abuse. Well, and that's why you were saying this committee is so important, because you couldn't do it just in one session. You needed to explore what was going on and some of the options you might have for that, instead of making a quick fix.
Absolutely, and it was my idea, and it worked really well, to bring in some committee members from different committees, one from public safety and one from the Judiciary Committee, because we tend to do things by committee, which creates these silo effects on a lot of the legislation that we pass. I wanted it to be broader than that, and that if something came up, that legislator that sits on the subcommittee could carry it in the Transportation Committee or in the Judiciary Committee.
Opening lines of communication.
Yes, so that we can do it together.
So that sounds like you're pretty excited about this committee. What kind
I
of
am.
what opportunities might have for you?
Well, I get to be chair of the committee, so that's a big
Is this your
opportunity.
first,
I've
chair
been
position?
vice chair of commerce for 2 years, and I've sat in as chair several times. But it's different when you are the chair and you get to decide the agenda and what you're going to hear and how it's going to work and how it moves forward. It's a great opportunity for me.
What has been the kind of as you've gone, this is your second, going into your second year.
Third year.
Third year.
Right.
Third year, right? So
Yeah.
you just finished 2 years, you got 2 more years to go.
That's
before
correct.
you get through the election process.
Yes.
What has been the biggest, because I know you've had some changes also like geographically for you in the
Right.
office building. What has been some of the more interesting changes for you over the past couple of years that you didn't quite expect?
That's interesting because things move so fast and they're so fluid. Every session is different, and now it will be again. It will look differently because we have a different majority in the House, and so some of the bills that I've been able to carry, I feel very fortunate. I'm very proud of the work that I've done and the bills that I've been able to get passed and moved forward. But it will be a little different now because we'll have to have Republican authors in the House. I don't see that as an issue for me because most of the things that I go after and have really created a niche for is talking about rural issues. And rural meaning not regional centers. And I think we make a mistake in the legislature, and I'm trying to change this. So this is one of the changes that I'm working on, is we write legislation and we want to make sure that, especially if it's a funding bill, it gets out to all areas of the state. But what we'll say is that we'll make it, part of it has to go to Greater Minnesota. And what that means is just exclude the 7-county metro. Well, that's different because if money then comes to southern Minnesota, a lot of it goes to Mankato and Rochester because that's where the population is. And so I have a real hard time having conversations about that. Needs to be clarified even more in legislation. We have to be very careful about all of our policy. And transportation is one of the big ones that I'm concerned. If we do what they're talking about doing in the House, what they want to do is use general fund money and not create any new sources of revenue and look at efficiencies. I'm all for looking at efficiencies. I just, with the problems we have at the federal level, not receiving and having that pullback that we have to make up, and the increasing cost of the materials that we have to use to do our maintenance and the expansion. I mean, this includes everything. I'm afraid that rural will lose out if we use general fund money because we will have to compete. It's taken 50 years for Highway 14 to get the kind of recognition, and that was through absolute hard work, bringing it up. I met with the governor and the commissioner of transportation several times, and he finally agreed we need cash money to buy the right-of-way because we can't use that for bonding. So you have to have a really good understanding of how those policies are written and what the impact is to rural Minnesota. And I think there is an emphasis on that and why we saw a lot of rural legislators switch in the last election.
I think it's so interesting that as a politician, you really have an opportunity for growth through this next session because you are going to have to do a lot of working together with the other party. And that's got to be a kind of a challenge for you and an exciting opportunity to really work with those negotiating skills.
You know, it really is. And for me, because I am a minority in the majority, as a rural legislator that's DFL, I've had to do that all along. So I feel like I do have that, a little bit of that experience working within my own party and now be able to expand that and to explain the issues because it's not to me that one should take from or bring to each, the different areas of our state. We're all different. Even the rural areas are different. Up on the range looks different, and the problems they deal with are different than what we deal with in southern Southwest. I mean, they had trouble with water. I mean, so every area has something different that they're dealing with, and they're all very important to the people that are there. So it concerns me when we talk about things like, why are we doing light rail when we should be doing roads and bridges? Well, different areas have different needs. And in the metro, they are dealing with population growth beyond anything we could comprehend here, because we just would not never experience that. And so locally, they're trying to figure out, what do we do with these people? How do we make it work? Just like we're looking at, how do we grow? How do we get the economic development we need in these areas? And that doesn't mean one is more important than the other. They are all extremely important to every one of those areas. So we have to make sure that we think about that when we make statements that some people are doing this and they shouldn't. We have to absolutely understand if we want to legislate for the entire state, which is part of our job.
Part of your job. So you are starting a new session, and people may be wanting to come find you or talk to you. How can they do that?
Well, the best way to come and talk to me is I hold a second Saturday with your senator event every second Saturday of every single month. It's incredibly important to me. I feel really strongly that most people don't have the opportunity to come see me at the Capitol, and I understand that they're busy. So come and see me second Saturday. I'm in Waseca from 8 until 9 at out to lunch, and then I come to Owatonna and I'm there from 10 to 11 at the Elks Club, and then I run up to Faribault and I'm at the coffee shop from 1 to 2.
And just a great opportunity to talk, share concerns,
That's right. And
ask questions.
Well, and I bring something. I prepare something to give, to educate, to help understand what I'm doing, and then to hear from them, what do they think about that, and if there's a specific issue that they want me to work on.
Good. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're
Absolutely.
You're just gearing up.
Yes,
so
getting excited.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank
We'll be
you.
right back. Please stay with us.
Hi, I'm Amy Martinez.
And I'm Adam Martinez, owners of Snap Fitness in Owatonna.
Snap Fitness is a fast, convenient, and affordable fitness center, and we're proud supporters of the Owatonna Today Show.
Amy Swain Hearing Centers is a proud sponsor of the Owatonna Today Show. I'm Dr. Amy Swain, and I want everyone to hear better.
Hello, I'm Sean McNulty. And I'm Deb Gillard with Brookdale Senior Living, Sterling House, and Clarebridge of Owatonna. And we are a proud sponsor of the Owatonna Today Show.
And it's time for a look at your community service announcements. This Dodge, Steele, and Waseca counties have transferred their human service operations to a new public agency formed by the three counties called Minnesota Prairie County Alliance. This transition should be fairly seamless for their clients and communities initially, with steady, continuous improvements in customer service. Jane Hardwick continues to say we need to be as effective as possible. So if you have any questions regarding this, you can contact your normal public service office, but they're giving you opportunities to reach throughout the three counties. If you do have questions, go ahead and contact them in your local county. The Morehouse Chalet opened at noon on Friday, January 2nd. They are hours for the chalet are Monday through Friday, 3 to 9, Sunday from noon to 9:30. Saturdays, holidays, and school vacations are all 11 to 9:30. Family bonfires are held on Saturdays at 5:30. You can bring your own hot dogs and marshmallows. Skate rentals are available for $6 for 2 hours, and ski rentals are $12 for the day. Selections from the Owatonna Arts Center Marianne Young Costume Collection will be featured at the Owatonna Arts Center Gallery from January 4th through January 18th. Mrs. Young was one of the founding members of the Owatonna Arts Center and on the first board of directors. She and her husband, F. Keene Young, were world travelers, and Marianne collected garments from her travels that she would wear to various functions, gowns that might have embellishments from foreign countries, and gallery hours are 1 to 5, Tuesday through Sunday, and they're closed on Sundays. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Owatonna Today Show. We'll be back on Wednesday. We're going to be speaking about the Owatonna economic development, as well as a look at music boosters for Owatonna. So we'll see you then.